You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I can't let them take my soul. Nah, 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 no. Oh, I can't let them take my soul. Nah, 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 no. See, we was cool right before it hit the fence, but it hit the fan when I got him down and pinched. But I took a break, I had to leave and go get cleansed. God forgive me for all my sins. I can't say these cause my last name ain't Kent. Cooking on the stove, that's the way he paid the rent. Working on the pole, that's the way she pays tuition. Better watch your soul, cause you know they trying to get it. Yeah, yeah. I learned my right from wrong on a song. I let my heart bleed on my sleeve through microphones. I'm trying to right my wrongs. I write out my wrongs. Ran through a check, cause it's hard to live off bread alone. So if you see me slipping,
Hello,
yeah, let me know.
family.
Cause it ain't
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice from no. Talk to me nicely. I know that they heated, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice from no. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make a meet.
Hey everybody, it is I, Hope Giselle Godsey, and I am back with another episode of I Have Thought. Y'all, I love that song. I am always going to feel better when I hear that song. There's something in those words that just make me super happy and that get me going. And so for some of y'all who are wondering where that song even came from, um, oh, mm, y'all hear it, but listen to what he say. Hey, talk to me nicely. What? Little bitch, I might be. They overpriced me. So now, look, come on now. Every time I hear that, I'm going to like be excited about it. Every time I hear it, it's like an affirmation to me because I think that oftentimes, especially when you are doing the work, right? Folks will overlook you. Folks will say that you're overpriced. Folks will say that like maybe you're not at that point in your career yet. And what'll happen is that, for lack of a better word, people do not talk to you nice. You know what I'm saying? Like people will treat you in the way that they think that you deserve to be treated based on your social status in the world. And we all know that that's bullshit. And so I heard that song and I was like, yo, I need that as my theme song. So on days when I'm not feeling my best, so on days when the information is not coming through, on days where I have to disseminate hard and tough, stuff to y'all, I can still go into this bitch feeling like, you know what? I is worthy. You know what I'm saying? So if you've never heard that full song, I recommend that y'all go and do that. He is not paying me or Pyro Media. Like there's no affiliation. That's just a song that makes me feel good. Okay. So with that being said, I want to jump right into my first story, which is something that I am really, really super passionate about. And if you have yet to hear this man's name, I want you to watch this video because we only have a couple of hours essentially to be able to save him. So take a look at Marcellus Williams and his story.
Should there be more consideration given that this is a capital punishment case?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The Attorney General's argument about finality really is a double-edged sword because it is not whether or not we're just going to be done with cases because, we've done this or we filed that motion or we had that hearing. The issue is, did we get to the truth? He's got one job as a prosecutor to get to the truth. He's failed in so many other instances and a myriad of other cases, and this will be yet another public failure of that office to seek the truth and ensure that justice is done in this case. He ought to be arguing for the people, not about a conviction.
Anything else? Obviously, it's like hours left. Anything else you want, like the public kind of needs to know about this?
I'll tell you that dozens and dozens of faith leaders, in conjunction with more than 500,000 people around the country and internationally, are asking Governor Parson to halt this execution. We need to figure out what happened, what went wrong, and is there innocence before, not after. Now's the time. And so we'll continue to call the governor at 573-751-3222 and ask him to halt this execution. Faith leaders are at this moment praying to ensure that Mr. Williams is not murdered unjustifiably. The death penalty, I'm opposed to it on my moral grounds, on my own religious faith. In this case, it's an actual case of innocence, and it would make every Missourian, every taxpayer in this state complicit.
So I want to name first and foremost, in case you have not heard of the story of Marcellus Williams, who is 55. He has been on death row for 24 years for a crime that, for all intents and purposes, his lawyers are saying that he did not commit, and that there is actual proof that he did not commit this crime. Now, because this is not a true crime TV series, I'm not going to get into all of the ins and outs. I will let you do your own research so you can decide for yourself whether or not you think that Marcellus did it. But what I will say is that regardless of whether or not you think he did it, a lot of us understand that based on the information that has been presented, he cannot have been the person that committed this egregious crime, which he's being accused of, which is rape, right? And what we know is that in a couple of hours, Marcellus is possibly going to have his life taken in Missouri, and we've got to do better. I'm sick and tired of having stories like this pop up, and especially as it pertains to Black men, where all it takes is for any woman of any race to whistle, blow, yell, scream, yelp, say out, and a Black man goes to jail. And oftentimes, the situation, when peeled back, is usually not what it was presented to be at the time of this person being sentenced. People come out years later and say, I lied. People will come out months later and say, oh my God, I think I got the facts mixed up. Post mortem, these people are exonerated of their crime, even though they're already dead, and there's nothing that you can do about, the fact of bringing them back. And so, in this particular case, I think that there's so many people, as you heard, Marcellus's lawyer say, there's over 500,000 people in this country, as well as abroad, that have said and spoken out and said that we need to make sure that this man is not murdered, because it's not going to be, excuse me, it's not going to be a just killing the way that they want to present it. This man is going to be murdered for something that, for all intents and purposes, the evidence does not agree that he is guilty of. And I think that one of the things that we have to all acknowledge and understand is that in a court of law, it is not about how you feel. It is about what you can prove. And based on all of the evidence, they have not been able to prove that Marcellus was the person that did this egregious crime. And therefore, not only has he been sitting on death row for 24 years, but he has had a good portion of his life stolen from him by a system that we all know was not built to protect him in the first place. And so, with that being said, if you want to know what you can do, or if you want to know what some of the next steps are, there is a slide that I'm going to have production run up for you. Here's what is happening, right? This one day before his case is supposed to be heard, the Supreme Court is finally reviewing his case, right? Marcellus is 55 and he's been on death row for 24 years, as I said. And the DNA evidence proves that he did not commit this action. And yet his execution is set for tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Today is the first day that they've actually been able to argue the new evidence that indicates that there's also racial bias in the jury selection, which also helps to indicate or pin a crime on him that, for all intents and purposes, they were not able to come to a factual agreement that he actually committed. Missouri's highest court could issue a stay of execution or uphold the lowest court ruling that denied the prosecutor's motion to vacate. Now, what this simply means is that the good folks of Missouri and their highest court could say, absolutely, we want to see this new evidence. We want to be on the right side of history, and we're going to make sure that this man is not wrongfully murdered, at least not here and not because of us. Or they could say, fuck that shit. And we're going to stand 10 toes down in our racism. We're going to stand 10 toes down in what those people said 24 years ago. And you're going to die, regardless of what the people across America say and the people abroad are feeling. You are going to die because now we have to stand 10 toes down in the decision that we made 24 years ago. And I think that there's something to be said about the ways in which this conversation is having to happen just a couple of hours before this is supposed to take place, because we've been making these asks for weeks now. We've been making these asks, some of us, for months now. And I think that the idea that only the day before this man is to be murdered by, Missouri, do they decide that they want to take some time to actually figure out, okay, well, maybe he didn't. Like, let's review the facts now. But we've been petitioning and we've been talking and we've been revving things up for the last couple of weeks. And only do they decide the day before that his life is worth taking a look at and taking a gander at. And this happens far too many times with too many Black men in this country. We saw it happen with the Central Park Five, and we saw it happen with countless other people who have had their lives stolen or who have been threatened to have their lives stolen from them, only to find out later that they were not the culprit of the crime that people were claiming was theirs. And I don't want that to happen to Marcellus. I don't want that to happen to anybody. But I also think that there's something to be said about the ways in which Black people, specifically Black men in this country, are railroaded into crimes of desire, passion, and hurt towards women, and specifically towards white women in a lot of cases, and the way that they are not given a voice to speak up for themselves after those crimes are committed. And we've got to do better. We've got to be better as a society because it should not always run down with this whole like nail biter situation. I understand that media sells things and media gets people going and it's provocative and all that good shit. But when somebody's life is on the line, I don't give a fuck about a cute media story. I don't care that you like if y'all want to drag something out, exonerate this man. Right. Let him walk free and let us watch the story of how he spends his coin for the next couple of years that y'all are gonna owe him. That's the story that I want to see. I want to see the story of you all freeing him and then the media follows him like he's Beyonce and Jay-Z for the next couple of months as he gets on his bag, right? And as he does what he needs to do with his bag because he's been able to, build a better life for himself. A lot of the time, y'all want to take time to spotlight and pinpoint the shit that doesn't make any sense. I don't want to watch this man nail bite his way through death row. I would love to watch this man thrive and survive and create a nonprofit and give back to his family and hug his kids if he got any. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want the media frenzy to be the drag out or the long drawn out portion about whether or not he's going to live or die. Give me the part about him thriving. Give me the part about people giving apologies that they honestly never thought that they would have to give. Give me the story about him, maybe stumbling out of a casino drunk at 2 a.m. in the morning because he's been locked the fuck up for 24 years. Give me that story. I can deal with scandal in that way, but I don't want this man's life and his last meal, right, to be the scandal. I don't want it to be a 10, 15-minute situation before they're supposed to walk him down. We get the headline that actually he's been exonerated at the last minute. Those things are trifling. This is not a movie. This is not, like some Steven Spielberg production directed by. This is not an Ava DuVernay moment. This is a man's life that is hanging in the balance. And the sad part about it is that I don't think that the folks of Missouri are treating it that way. And that's what I want to change. That's a conversation that I think honestly needs to happen after we get this man up off of death row because he doesn't deserve to be there. And honestly, we need to get him up out of prison altogether. And I hope that that's what happens. I hope that there's an argument being made, not only for him to avoid being murdered, but for him to also avoid any more days in prison, considering that they could not prove in a court of law beyond a shadow of a doubt that this man did what they're accusing him of. And that's that on that. Moving right along, let's talk about something that's a little bit more lighthearted. I know that you all love to talk about the gays and all of that, but let's talk about the bisexual people, right? In case you all did not know, today is Bisexuality Day, okay? It is Bisexuality Day. Now, I have my little Born to Love by Fluid shirt, okay? Because I'm a part of the community, obviously being a trans woman, but I think that a lot of people assume that my sexuality is heterosexual. I'm also not bisexual, just to be very clear. But I thought that this was a topic that I wanted to hint on or talk about because far too often people get the things mixed up and get them wrong. Now, I do identify as a practicing pansexual woman, okay? And this means that that I am not only open to the idea of love from a man, I'm open to the idea of love from women, I'm open to the idea of love from trans and gender nonconforming people and all of that jazz, okay? And it simply means that the anatomy, the identifier, the sexual, desires and kinks of the people do not matter to me. The person in and of themselves matter to me. Whereas there are bisexual people who simply are not necessarily always open and willing to the variations of the way that gender shows up, but they do acknowledge that they do like to maybe have relationship or loving romantic advances or relationships with people of both the opposite and the same sex. And I think that those things need to be cleared up and clarified. Bisexual people do not have to be actively in relationships with both sexes at the same time. You don't have to have seen it. It is not something that needs to be proven. And I think that a lot of you all need to get a fucking grip on this ideation that if a person is going to say that they're bisexual, that they have to be out here licking clits and sucking dicks 90 going north for you to believe it, right? People should be able to show up and identify with whatever they identify with without having to feel like they're being held or burned like a witch at the stake in order for people to believe that. And I think especially as it pertains to men. There are so many men who claim bisexuality and who own their bisexuality, but then they're thrust into this closet of being just gay. There are so many women who own the idea of being bisexual, but then they're told by lesbian women that they are just using them for experiences and that they really just like men and that, like nobody's ever going to really take that bisexuality from them serious either. And I think that there's something that's really sinister about the erasure of bisexual people, considering that most people within the LGBTQIA plus community identify as bisexual, and they are one of the most erased communities outside of TGNC people and non-binary folks, okay? Like outside of those people, a lot of bisexual people are erased out of the community. I think that's trash. And so I wanted to take today on Bisexual Visibility Day to make sure that I sound a light on our bisexual brothers, sisters, and siblings, right? And made sure that we had a little bit of a talk about it. I want to know what you all think about bisexuality. Do you think that it's real? Do you think that people practice it in the wrong ways? Do you have good experiences with bisexual folks? Do you have bad experiences with bisexual people? Is there something or a stigma that you think that folks are holding on to as it pertains to bisexuality? Or do you just not rock with it because it's just not your tea, it's not your cup of ice, a cup of, frappuccino, whatever it's just not that for you. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I will be right back with y'all after this break.
Talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we
Elevate your entertainment with Watch Vim. Discover the ultimate online streaming destination. Get an auto-renewing monthly subscription for unlimited content on all devices. Join us in supporting a Black-owned streaming platform that brings top-tier entertainment. Let the streaming excitement begin at Watch Vim, your seamless experience for endless entertainment. Stream online or download the Watch Vim app now.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
know that they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get it.
Yes, I am back with another episode of I Have Thoughts. And in case you missed the first half of the show, we talked a little bit about Marcellus Williams, who is definitely in need of our help. He has just a few hours left to make sure that he does not get wrongfully murdered by Missouri for a crime that he did not and cannot be proven to have had anything to do with. And so we talked a little bit about the fact that the Supreme Court is doing their due diligence to make sure that we have conversations about this and make sure that we're really opening up the space to make sure that this man does not have to die or be murdered, right, for something that he did not do, but also that we can get him up and out of prison because he doesn't deserve to be there either. And we also talked a little bit about bisexuality because we wanted to make sure that on Bisexuality Visibility Day that we dispel some of the myths and also open up a little bit of the conversation that we have around these things because quite frankly, a lot of us are mis and ill-informed, and I wanted to do away with that, especially as somebody who does not identify as heterosexual myself. Now, Ryan Clark had some things to say, and I want y'all to hear what Ryan Clark had to say.
And I learned it from Black women, is people feel so comfortable disrespecting them because we don't respect them publicly, right? White people for so long have used the excuse, why can't I say the N-word when you say that to yourselves or call yourself that or use that in your music, which is bullshit, right? Or white people have said, if you're using the B word, or they say, if you're using the B word, why can't I call them that? That's bullshit as well, right? That's excuses to be certain things and be disrespectful when you shouldn't be. So when you're sitting across from Andrew Schultz and he's talking about an experience that he can't understand because his wife is not Black, you don't have the right to talk about that. You don't have the right to speak on something that you don't know, right? And to make a joke about what the experience is one thing if you're talking about haircuts and you're talking about clothing and you're talking about beards, or you're comparing what our friend Travis Kelce looked like when he was with Kayla Nicole to what he looks like now that he's with Taylor Swift, right? That is part of it. You start to assimilate to the people around you. What you're not going to do, though, is be disrespectful and say you have to develop a defense mechanism because of alleged violence. Black women aren't violent. Black women don't just walk around to beat people or to be angry or to be treated a certain way. No, Black women, to me, were the entire front line of the Alton Sterling protests when he died, when he was killed by cops in Louisiana. Black women are on the front lines of everything that's about us. Black women understood that they had to take a back seat because as we were fighting for rights in our country, that we as men were going to be able to get through the door before they were. So they decided to push us forward and give us ideas and give us help and give us support and be our biggest cheerleaders because they knew we'll have an opportunity to get in the door first. The problem is, so many times now we're getting in those doors and we aren't reaching back and bringing them through that same door with us. And this is just another example of that. So whoever is Andrew Schultz's Black friend, Charlemagne, you're his Black friend, sit him down, talk to him, tell him what the Black woman experience truly is, because he ain't married to one and he's obviously never been around enough of them to know how strong, how beautiful, how independent they could be while also being supportive, how much Black women have done to create this entire world that we all live in and the way that they've poured in it.
Let me tell you one motherfucking thing, Ryan. If I wasn't married, this pussy would be yours, okay? If you are open to the idea of a neo vagina that was engineered by the best of the best doctors in the world, okay, it would be yours. Because finally, a Black man that gets it. And I don't know what Ryan Clark's idea around trans women are. And so I might be taking this back in a couple of months because they always show their ass in one way or another. And maybe, maybe to him, I'm not even a Black woman, but we not going to go down that road today. Today, we're going to talk about the ways in which he did step up and stand up and make it known as a Black man that the disenfranchisement, the masculinization, the angry Black woman trope, the downtrodden of Black women in general is a no motherfucking go in his friend zone. And what I really love is the idea that not only did he call out Andrew Schultz, but he called out the Black motherfuckers that's in community with you. Charlemagne, you know who I am. And I know that you know who I am because you are 5 degrees of separation from me at all times. And I know that you know who I am because on several different occasions, the people that you and I have 5 degrees of separation with have mentioned me in your presence. And so I am convinced that at this point, you understand and you know that you don't have a dog in a fight with me verbally. And so there's a need to continue to keep that 5 degrees of separation very far. But what I will say is that every time a bitch turn around and there's a problematic man out there in the mix, your name usually comes up. And usually when there's a problematic man who is not Black that pops up in the media, your name comes up because you are friends with all of the problematic motherfuckers that got shit to hide. And it's just really interesting to me that as a Black man with a Black wife who fucks with Black people, who's on one of the most highly syndicated radio shows for Black people and Black culture, who is here to move the needle of Black culture and Black conversation forward, you are constantly dropping the motherfucking ball as it pertains to making sure that Black people are seen. And to making sure that Black women feel seen in spaces that you frequently occupy with these problematic motherfuckers. Now, I'm not going to make this about you, Charlemagne, but again, I am so happy to Ryan Clark for naming that you are a culprit and a part of this as a friend to this motherfucker. With that being said, I want to say again, where the fuck are the rest of the Ryan Clarks of the world? Because your sister just is Black. Your mama just is Black. Your auntie, your favorite fucking auntie is just as Black. Your grandma whose house you run to every fucking Thanksgiving to get that Black feeling and that Black essence back is Black as fuck. And she got the flaps and she's not flat by the stomach. But guess what? That moo and that flap kept your granddaddy dick wet. And so at this fucking point, why is there a need to constantly and overtly talk about your disdain for Black women as if the women that you are surrounded with are not fucking Black? Y'all have these conversations in private and then you get embarrassed when they inch their way out into the public because you understand and you know that what you're doing is dead ass wrong. And rather than taking time to see that that's a problem, y'all are going out of your way to bandstand and make it make sense for people who are not even a part of this community. You're laughing as this man talks about how violent Black women are to Black men, when honestly, what we fucking know is that every fucking 2 seconds in America, there is a woman who is being assaulted by a man, and Black women make up a good majority of those women. And I can't say that Black men are the only culprits because all men have decided socially that Black women are expendable. That if you want to get away with the crime of femicide, do it to a Black woman. You want to get away with the crime of hurting a woman or a femme presenting person, do it to a Black one. You want to kill a tranny and get away with it? Go find a Black one. You want to kill a woman and get away with it? Go find a Black one. You want to rape a little girl and get away with it? Go find a Black one. And you all don't realize that you set the stage for men like that to be out here creating laws that allow for people to do those things and get away with it because they found and they did it to a Black one. As y'all sit there and laugh as y'all sit there and talk about the colloquial understandings of what it means to be the Black woman. My thing is, it's not about us being upset. It's not about us being angry. It's not about us being violent. It's about us not accepting mediocrity from you motherfuckers. And them white girls and them Spanish girls and them other girls being able to say that that's how they was raised, to let y'all motherfuckers run amok and do what the fuck you want to do. And that's not all, that's some. But in a lot of those other households, they have not been raised to be in a space of uplifting a man. They've been raised to be in a space where that man comes with what he comes with, and you have to deal with it if that's what you want. If you don't want Thea to say that you're an unwed bitch by the time you're 30, you better accept what Eduardo brings to the table. And that's just what it is. If you don't want Aunt Diane to be judging you for the fact that you are only 28 and have yet to have any viable prospects, you better accept what the fuck Gregory comes with. Because you know he's going to be a powerful man, and that's just what comes with powerful men. That's what they do. It's what I did. But Black women are not bred and pushed into that way. Not the majority of us. And so when we see something, we say something, and a lot of you all don't like that. But that does not excuse the idea that a lot of you all are turning the fact that we have opinions about the way that we want to live and the way that we want to be treated by the people that claim that they love us into violence, into hardness, into abrasiveness, into the inability to actually show and give love when all we do is give love. Even when we know that it will not come back to us in the way that we initially gave it out. And so I want to say thank you to Ryan Clark for making it his mission and his business to give Black women the fucking time, energy, and space that we deserve in conversation without us having to be the people to overexert ourselves yet again to make that point. Because as a Black man who comes from a Black woman who has lived a Black life amongst other Black women, he understands that he could not be the Super Bowl champion that he is today without standing on the shoulders of the women that made him who the fuck he was in yesteryear. And a lot of you all need to shit the fuck up and understand and realize the same things. And for the people who are going to say, well, you're not one of those Black women because you didn't bear a Black child, let me be very clear to you. I may not have ever and may not be capable to ever bear a Black child. But the Black children in my community, the Black children who have been tossed out by their parents, their moms, their fathers, all of those people that come to me and find solace, that come to me and find retribution, that come to me and find safety, that come to me for resource and access to be able to live a healthy and safe life, those are mine. I've been a mother 1,000 times over, as have many Black women who cannot physically have children, but have had to rear children day in and day out. And I want to say thank you to Ryan Clark for naming that Black women are more than the stereotypes and bullshit that some of you all want to put on us, but that we are viable change makers to society and the culture. And a lot more of you Black men should look up and hold pride in that, and then check when disrespect comes, and especially when that disrespect comes from outside of the house. That's all I'm gonna say on that. God damn it. Motherfuckers got my blood pressure high. Who the fuck you thought you was getting on them raggedy ass podcasts and asking all these dumbass, bullshit ass, funky ass questions about who the fuck Black women is, and you don't even know who the fuck Black women is? It gives very much so motherfucking racist. And I'm sick of you motherfucking whack ass, lame ass, bum ass men of color and Black men letting these motherfuckers get up here and little boy y'all ass. Y'all be real motherfucking niggas and real motherfucking men until a white man get up there and say something about a Black woman, and now all of a sudden everybody fucking mute. Everybody got so much to motherfucking say when a trans woman says that she's a woman, but when a motherfucking man sitting in your goddamn face, biggest day, boldest motherfucking day, with his two nuts and he clutching his motherfucking pearls in your face, y'all motherfuckers be quiet as shit. I am so sick of you bum ass, punk ass, weak ass, whack ass niggas who want to talk all of this bullshit when people say something about their gender identity. But when a man is literally in your face talking to you about your women, the same women that y'all came to protect, when a trans woman wants to own her motherfucking femininity and womanhood, y'all want to talk to us about how we can dare hold the candle to the black queens that y'all motherfuckers praise so much. But a white man can come and disrespect those black queens all motherfucking day and tomorrow, and everybody mute or laughing. Hypocrite, whack ass, bum ass, bullshit ass niggas. Now, for my last point, I'm going to be ringing this home for every motherfucking show until this election happens. Your ass needs to be out here voting. And this week, I wanted to make sure that I talked about the idea and the idiosyncrasies that need to be drawn in this. If you are voting for Trump and saying that you are not a racist, I need you to understand and note that you've only decided that racism was not a stopping point for you. I saw this Instagram post and I realized something about it sit real deep in my soul because it is very fucking true. A lot of you all are not racist, right? Not all Trump supporters are racist, but all of them decided that racism is not a deal breaker. And what does that mean? What this simply means is that Trump has had the backing and support of several different racist groups, including the KKK. The grand motherfucking wizard came out and said that Trump is going to be great for their organization because he believes that they are in line with one another. That is what the grand wizard of the KKK had said. So if you are a person who is a supporter of Trump, and it doesn't mean that you have to be white, because we've seen that there are people of color who are not that bright, but they're in support of Trump. But if you are a person who is indeed in support of Trump and you're voting for him, what you are agreeing to is the fact that he is going to be great for the KKK's agenda. What has the KKK's agenda always been? What has the KKK's agenda always been? And so if I am not a racist person and I don't want to be looped in or considered to be racist, I'm not going to vote for the candidate that has the racist of the racist people saying, hey, we think this guy is going to do us some good. Because if I am not that type of person and I don't think that way, I don't want that guy representing me because that guy represents things that I don't support. And so I want you to think as you get ready to go to the ballot box, especially some of you all, because I know that people are going to be like, well, Hope, why are you saying this on this platform? We don't know who's watching. And all skin folk ain't kin folk. We've seen that. All queers are not here for the cheers. And so if you're one of those skin folk that's not kin folk and one of those queers that's cheering on the wrong motherfucking football team, this is for you. A vote for Trump is a vote for racism. A vote for Trump is a vote against your own best interest if you are a queer person in America. And that is not an opinion. I don't have to give a disclaimer for that one. That is the fucking truth. It's Googleable. That is the truth. It is Googleable factual information. That is not my opinion at all. If you are voting for Trump, you are voting for racism in America. You are voting for anti-LGBT ideals in America. You are voting against women in America. You are voting against women's rights in America. You are voting against the ability to have freedom of speech in America. And you are essentially voting for a dictatorship. Again, Googleable information. These are not my thoughts. These are not my opinions. These are factual statements that have been made by Trump and his team. They have told you and showed you who they are. Believe them the second time, since it took y'all a motherfucking hell of a long time to do it the first time. A lot of you all are changing your vote this year, and that's great. But it shouldn't have had to be a vote that you changed. It should have been a vote that you came in with the understanding that a person who is supported and backed by so many hateful regimes could never be a person that you want to be associated with. There are no final thoughts today. I just want y'all to sit with that. And until next time, I'll see y'all around. Bye, everybody.
Talk to me nicely. I noticed they heated, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.